Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a Razer build for patch 7.35D, and this hero seems to always come back into the meta every 6 months or so. You know, it's really good, then it gets a little bit of nerfs, and it kind of goes away for a while, then it gets one little buff or something like that, and it comes right back surging through, and now it's really good. It's kind of on the upswing. It's really good as a carry, offlane, and a mid. You can play it in any core role, and we're mainly going to be focusing on more of like the offlane role because that's really the one it's most popular in, but honestly you can play it in every single role, and so this build is mainly for that. The only real differences between those three positions in the build is like mid you might go bottle, you know, carry you might go more all in for damage, but even so you're kind of still playing like a right click damage dealer in the offlane anyway. So let's just jump into it. Let's take a look at the items first. So first you're going to buy tangos, obviously pretty much every hero buys that, and then you're going to buy your components to a Wraith Band, and then 3 branches pretty much every game. Now there might be games where you buy stick or something else like that, and you are a ranged hero, so you could technically buy Quelling Blade, but it's not that great on this hero being a ranged hero, so I wouldn't really buy it. Plus you are going to get more damage from Static Link. You can clear creep waves with Plasma Field and stuff like that, so you don't necessarily have to get the Quelling Blade. So that's why I'm going to be going for these items, and that's what you do on, you know, a decent amount of these ranged heroes. And then you're going to be building out that Wraith Band, building out the Magic Wand, and then going for the Power Treads, and you can use this other Iron Branch with a Tango to get double the effectiveness. Now the thing is, you can actually go for maybe 2 Circlets or 2 Slippers of Agility. Usually you go for the Circlets though, in order to build 2 Wraith Bands, just depending on the game, depending on if you're really like man fighting, you need that extra armor, that kind of stuff, you really want to go all in for the lane. But for the most part, I would say on this hero, just go for the 1 Wraith Band. That's pretty much good enough. And then that is the early game items. Now the next items, you see the core items, and this is kind of the core items that we're going to be buying. But right after I say, you know, the very first item, which is Manta, I'm going to be going into some situational items because this is really where the build differs a little bit. So in the perfect game, you know, you're playing carry especially, but in offlane especially too, you can go for this, is going just straight up Manta. It's just greedy a little bit because you're not getting any early item, but you can definitely do it. It's kind of the ideal thing to do because you're going right into that big item that you're going to be wanting almost every single game. But you're not going to always be buying Manta because Manta, you know, it's a dispel. It does some things that the hero wants, but sometimes you actually want to get S and Y. And so it just depends on the game, depends on the matchups. Are there silences? Are there other things you to dispel? Are the illusions really good? That kind of stuff. But then other games, especially in the offlane role, you're going to want to get some other little items first. Sometimes it's a blade mail. If you're against like a Slark or some other heroes that really commit on you and blade mail's really good against, then you can get this item, but it's kind of rare. And then Falcon Blade's kind of like an old build style where the hero doesn't really buy it anymore, but I still include it in here because sometimes you can buy it. But I really wouldn't buy these 2 items very often, maybe, you know, 10% of games, if that, so I really wouldn't worry about them too much. But the one item that you're not going to buy every game that you would have bought like a lot in the past before it got nerfed is Mage Slayer. So this is kind of the one early game item that you're going to be buying maybe 50% of games or less, but I don't include it in the core items because it's not like the ideal. You really only want to get this if obviously it's a huge magic damage lineup that you're against and spell damage, so that you're obviously going to be clicking somebody and they're doing a lot of spell damage and you reduce that. So that's kind of what you want to focus on. It's like, do I need some kind of magic damage tanky item in order to help myself out, like running in because there's like a Zeus and other things like that, and I'm going to hit them and allow them to do less spell damage. Or maybe the carry, whoever I'm going to be static linking in the game, does a lot of spell damage, relies on spells, and so I want to make sure I get this because it just helps overall. It's like that little transition item that you want to get in a decent amount of games, but I'm not putting it, like I said, as the core because ideally if you can get away with it, you want to go right into basically Manta or maybe even S and Y in some games where you really don't require that dispel. And then you want to get Ags BK or Ags Shard BKB. Now sometimes you can go for BKB like first if you really feel like you need it, but honestly the Shard is just so good right now because basically, if you didn't know, I'll just buy it here and I'll upgrade the static link. Basically it pulls the enemy in towards you when you're static linking them, which is just absolutely insane. It makes this hero so much better. You just can tell whenever you're like playing against a Wind Ranger or something like that, you know, and the Wind Ranger Shard like pulls you back. Whenever you have something like pulling at you, it just feels like so much worse than a slow, for instance, because a slow, you can dispel the slow. It feels like, okay, well, this is just my movement speed. I need to play around that. But the like pulling you in a certain direction just feels so awkward and it feels like you can never escape. And so this pulling just makes it so good. And so early on, it just gives you that extra little bit of control that you don't normally have, because obviously you can slow people with this and stuff like that, but it just makes you stick on target so much better. But you can honestly switch either one of these, but you're going to want to get shard pretty early on. Then you have BKB, so then you have your Manta. This is kind of like just the core of the hero. You honestly only need these 2 items and you're good to go. Your hero just does like everything with the spells that it has, and just being tanky, being able to run in. And then from there, you're pretty much going to get Satanic all the time, because Satanic is just so good for allowing you to live. Obviously, you're amping up your right-click damage with this. You have your BKB on, you have your Manta for dispelling stuff, or even your S and Y for being tanky and all that kind of stuff, with the status resistance and everything, and then you're just running in, and then if you ever do get low, you Satanic up, and you just hit them, and you get all of your health back, which is really good. And so you can see, this hero is all about building these big items, and especially if you can get away with it, and you can be really aggressive, and you're hard to bring down, but if you can get away with going for these big items without any small items, this hero just scales really, really well. And then from there, you're just going to the late game items, which are Refresher Orb. In the past, maybe a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, this hero would literally buy first item BKB and then go Refresher. That's how good Refresher is on the hero. Now, Refresher, I think, was nerfed since then, but still, it's still pretty good, especially on this hero. It's one of like the main Refresher heroes, because you can refresh like 2 ults, you get 2 static links, all that kind of stuff, 2 BKBs, which this hero really relies on BKB. And so just straight up having a Refresher like 3rd item in your inventory or 4th item is really, really good. And then from there, you kind of just get items that are just extra for what the hero needs. Like this Ags is really good because then it does extra tower damage. If you didn't know, it amps up your ultimate and allows it to actually hit buildings, and it just makes this ultimate even better, because one of the kind of things about the hero that people don't think about is, yes, you're static linking targets, but the other thing you're doing is you're decreasing their armor a ton with this static link, and that just makes you melt people even faster, and so you do even more damage, which is really, really good. And then Butterfly, just to kind of round it out, because this just helps you with everything you want. Attack speed, damage, just everything you need, but it's not like the best item because you need these other items. That's why you're getting it kind of late game. So that's really the core build. At the end of the day, you're probably going to have Manta or S&Y, BKB, Satanic, Refresher, like an Ags, and then an Eaten Ags, and then Butterfly, and that's like your build. And if you're at that point in the game, you're just an insane tanky carry that is just going in and just like being an anti-carry to one of their heroes and just destroying the game. Like, you're probably going to win the game if you get to this point, because this hero isn't the best farmer, so if you get all of these items, you're going to be ridiculous in that game and probably going to win. So that's the main items. Now that we can go to the situational items and talk a little bit more in depth about those. I already mentioned Mage Slayer. You're going to be getting this a lot. I just don't think it's part of the main build right now, because you don't want to buy it every single game. It's not the ideal. Like I said, Blade Mail in some games against specific targets. Maybe Falcon Blade, but it's kind of an old build. S and Y in those games where you don't need to dispel, you want more status resistance, those kinds of things. Then we go on to Nullifier. This is really good against heroes that are buying Force Staff, other things like that. Maybe ranged carries because they have, Hurricane Pike and things like that, and you just want to stick on them, and so having that Nullifier helps. Or heroes that buy Ghost Scepter, whatever else it is that you really want to nullify those targets so you can stick on them, so you can see them because other people have Glimmer Capes, whatever it is that you need. Sometimes this will be a really good item. Sometimes Lincoln Sphere is a great item against like Spear Breaker or Doom or anything like that really makes it annoying for you to play the game. And then sometimes AC is really what you want, because you want to tank up with that extra armor where, sometimes you're buying Mage Slayer early because that magic damage is really what the enemy is focusing on. Sometimes it's all about the right click, and just getting this extra armor is really good. And then this really applies other things that you want to do as well, because you're also a right clicker giving you that attack speed, that minus armor for the enemies. So it's really good. It's just not part of the core build because it doesn't give you any stats. I think that's really the main thing. It gives you that armor, but it doesn't give you any health or anything like that. And that's why it's not really the best item when you'd rather have some of these other tankier items. Then maybe you just need Lockdown. That's going for the Scythe of Ice. You can definitely buy it on this hero as like a late game item. If you have no stuns on the team, you have the shard and all this stuff, but you still can't stick on heroes, having that Scythe is definitely a good thing sometimes. And then Heaven's Halberd, this hero, because it's like an off lane, you're tanky, it gives you that evasion, gives you status resistance, stuff that you want to have on the hero. And sometimes, you can buy that with the Manta as well. So if you have these two items, then you get that extra, Sange, status resistance and those kinds of things, the health regen and lifesteal amp, which is really good because you're getting Satanic all the time. So it's a pretty good item on the hero, but you're mainly going to want to buy it if you're against like an Ursa or a Troll or some other hero like that, that's going to actually like man fight you a lot of those times. Then Scotty, this is like the tanky item that this hero doesn't always buy because he wants to buy some other items. It's still like a good item. If you had 7 slots, you'd probably be buying Scotty every game, but just that these items are a little bit better than that. And then if you really, really need more mobility, you can get that blink, get the swift blink. That's definitely something that can happen. If you just have a specific game where it just doesn't seem like it's going well, you just need to have a recovery Midas, or you want to get really extra greedy, you can go it, but I wouldn't do that too often. It's a little bit of a grief. Midas isn't that bad right now, but it's also not that good. So I would just, focus on these other things. But if you're maybe really low MMR, I mean, you can definitely get away with a Midas and then amps up your farm because this hero doesn't farm that fast. And then this Orchid and Bloodthorn, these are really good items right now, but it doesn't give this hero any stats like I've talked about before. It's kind of one of those, like with Nullifier, and with Assault Cuirass, it just doesn't give this hero that tank ability, that run-in ability like he likes to do because he's frontlining, he's running at people. And so, yes, it gives you that True Strike, those kinds of things. You can even buy MKB if you need to, but I would almost rather buy this, which actually I should probably edit it, put MKB in there. I always forget one item, it seems. But yeah, this Bloodthorn can be really good, but again, it's just not giving you any of that tank ability, but it's really good for offensive capabilities. So those are the items. Now we can move on to the skills of the hero. And actually, level 1, I personally say you should probably get Static Link. Now, you can also get Plasma Field. I think Plasma Field is a little bit more of the popular one, but this is also at the highest MMR, where the enemies that you're going to be going against are very good at positioning. They know what they're doing, and they're not just going to run up and let you static link them. But for the most part, I feel like in most MMRs, even though people know what this hero does, they're just like dumb, and they just like walk up to the creep wave as a melee hero, and then you can static link them. It's just really, really good for trading last hits, where this is really good for like securing range creeps and harassing and stuff like that. So it is kind of a good thing to get. It's not wrong to get this. I would just say in a lot of cases, you're not going to get as punished for going static link level 1, even though level 1 static link isn't the best these days. But I still think you can get away with it really well. This is also really good. Plasma Field is for level 1 rune fights as well because of the slow and damage and stuff like that. So either one is fine, but you're going to be getting both of these level 2 regardless, and then you're going to probably get that second point in static link at level 3 just to amp up that damage, make it a little bit better, and that you're able to steal more in the lane, which is really, really good. It just kind of doubles its effectiveness, which is great. And so that's kind of all you need for static link actually at this point. You don't need to max that out because you want to be maxing out your Plasma Field as quickly as possible, and then getting obviously your ult level 6 so that you can farm quickly, because this is your main farming tool. It's how you farm creep waves, clear through creep waves, push the wave, and also how you farm jungle. You can even farm stacks or multiple camps at a time by kind of going in between them and clicking Plasma Field. So this hero isn't the fastest farmer, but this ability does allow him to farm a little bit. So you want to be maxing it out first just so you can take advantage of it, because if you don't have this maxed out, you're going all in on like contesting people and right-clicking people and draining them a static link, and then if you don't get aggressive, if you can't snowball the lane, you can't find them in the jungle, that kind of stuff, and kill them and just constantly team fight, then you're falling behind in farm a lot on an already a hero that doesn't get as much farm as some other heroes because of the abilities that he has. And then from there, you can actually keep Static Link at level 2 and then max out your Storm Surge, because this gives you a little bit of everything you want. It gives you that bonus speed. It also helps you farm a little bit, harass a little bit when people go on you, that kind of stuff. And you don't really need more Static Link at this point, because you're going to be using these other abilities to do the most damage, to get the most farm. And by the time you max this out and have all these abilities maxed out, then that's going to get into the later portion of the game where you're getting more into the team fights and those kinds of things, and that's when you can max out your Static Link last, because those 2 points, that's really all you need for those early fights. Then obviously we can take Eye of the Storm whenever we need to, whenever we're able to, at each interval, and then we can go to the talents. And so talents are going to be pretty simple in this hero because you get every single talent on the left here. Spell Lifesteal is really good. Now Plasma Field damage can amp up your farm. This might be something that you want to take if you are playing carry because you really want to farm faster. That's definitely a possibility, but overall this hero's spells are really what it does. The reason why I can get Refresher so early is because all of his spells are so good that getting that Spell Lifesteal just amps up everything you do with every single spell. So it's just great. You're just getting that extra tankiness, that extra lifesteal, which is amazing. And then this Static Link Armor Steal is also, I think, one of the biggest things combined with the Shard. It's really what makes this hero good right now. It's just like what makes him OP. Because if you didn't have this talent, if you didn't have the Shard, he would kind of feel decent, but not like overwhelmingly good. But the fact that you're able to stick on people a lot better with static link with the shard, and then you're also stealing armor. You're not just doing minus armor with the alt, which is already very, very good, but now you're stealing their armor. That's kind of insane, and it makes you even more powerful than you already were. So that's a great talent on this hero, one of the best talents. And then you have minus 0.1 second Eye of the Storm, which just, you know, amps up this ability, which is really good, but, you know, it's nothing crazy. It's 0.1 second, kind of whatever, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps when you have, you know, refresher, when you have that Ags and it's hitting towers and things like that, you know, making people even squishier with stealing their armor and things like that, and or, you know, minusing their armor with the alt. And then lastly, we can have static link steals attack speed. This like double creates a second plasma field. That's just not great. This stealing attack speed, you do what you do on the hero, which is I right click the carry and I static link the carry, and now you're doing that even better because every single carry in the game pretty much uses their right click, and now they're attacking extremely slowly when you get that static link off on them for a long period of time, which is just absolutely insane on the hero. So like I said before, with the items, like if you get to these items and if you get to that level 25 talent, this hero is absolutely ridiculous and so hard to deal with. He's just a beast, and you can carry from the off lane, carry from the mid, or carry from the carry. Any core role that you want to play, you will dominate on this hero. So that is my Razer build for patch 7.35D. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.